All right. Well, that
Oh,
was something. Welcome to Night Shift. Eric Lopez here alongside Bryson Turner as UCF just knocked off East Carolina 20-16. Dramatic finish down to the minute, last few seconds, but the Knights pull it out. Wasn't the prettiest of games, but they find a way to win. We'll break down what went right, what didn't go right, what does this all mean. Coming up on the show, you can follow us on Black and Go Banneret on the YouTube page, and make sure you like us there, subscribe, and of course you follow us on blackandgobanneret.com and on Twitter as well. Bryson, how you hanging in there?
oh man. I've totally missed the cardiac nights. My premature gray hairs that I'll get will remember these fond memories that I'll have watching these games with bated breath. But even if it was stressful, a win is a win is a win, and I'm glad we pulled it out. I'm mostly impressed by the defense though tonight. We'll get into that.
Yeah, go ahead. Just give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts there overall. Go ahead.
Well, for one, great. Thanks the Lord we have Tatum Bethune back, because he absolutely went off tonight with 17 total tackles, more than double the second leading tackler which was Adams with 6. Also, Drew has mentioned this in previous night shifts, but the defensive backs are not the leading tacklers. Now, sure, Adams is a defensive back that is. I'm getting a call for a second. I'm going to climb that real quick. So the Adams, who is a defensive back, has the second most tackles, but after him, we have Big Cat Bryant, Bryson Armstrong, Quadric Bullard, and Josh Settelscart and Anthony Montalvo with 5. So we're starting to get a lot more tackles from the defensive linemen and the linebackers, which is what we've been looking for out of this defense. So even though the secondary still has its issues, that's where East Carolina really picked apart this defense tonight. The linebackers and the defensive linemen have managed to step it up, where I think as an overall unit, the defense has definitely improved.
Well, it was their best performance of the season. They held a team in East Carolina that's averaging 32 points a game to half of that, to 16 points. I think they were sound. I think they forced turnovers. That was nice to see. And look, I think moving forward for the rest of the season, I think this is the recipe for UCF to win some games is you got to be sound on defense, and you're going to have to run the football. And I think with Richardson and Marr, who broke a couple nice runs, they're going to need to run the football effectively, and that will help Mikey Keene in the passing game. I don't think this is a team that's going to be able to win right now throwing the football 40, 45, 50 times. This is a team that's got to win with their defense being sound and running the football. And I thought you saw that. And I thought, to me, this coaching staff did a fantastic job in the fourth quarter. I think a lot of people, it's easy to panic. You're down 16-10. A lot of people wondering why they didn't go for it, on 4th down and 10. But no, they kicked the field goal with 5 minutes to go, because in this game, they had confidence in their defense and the way they were playing, and rightfully so. They felt their defense would give them the ball back, and that's exactly what happened. And then they drove the ball down, and they were able to punch it in there with 20 seconds. And I think East Carolina and Mike Houston helped them out, because I was surprised, Bryson, that East Carolina didn't use their timeout on 3rd down and goal with about 50 seconds. I actually agreed with Brandon Wheaton, who I know there was a lot of people that commented on the podcast, but I agreed with him. If I was East Carolina, they would have been better off letting UCF score sooner and get the ball back. And I was definitely surprised that on 3rd and goal, they didn't use their timeout and save themselves some time, because if UCF doesn't score there, they probably go for the field goal. Maybe they go for it. Who knows? But, if they score there, you still would have 50 seconds left with the ball. Instead, you let UCF run the clock, which I thought was smart on Gus's part. And then they score with about 23 seconds. And East Carolina basically only had one timeout in 23 seconds. Hard to do much. They're down 4. So I give credit to the staff. I thought they did a nice job in that fourth quarter and its staff. It's funny, fans like to be critical of coaches when they lose, but they don't compliment when they win. And I thought this was an example where I think the UCF staff won this game. And if I was an East Carolina fan, I would be disappointed in how their staff handled the clock the last few minutes of that game.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with you there. I also think that there definitely were a couple of moments where where things broke just the right way. One big instance that I remember was back in the second quarter, about 10.5 minutes left, and Holden Allers had open field in front of him, and he elected to pass, and it fell incomplete, and that led to an
Big turning
ECU.
point, right? I thought that was a mistake on Ehlers' part. He should have run for it. I was not impressed with these. Look, this is not a game that's going to end up on ESPN Classic anytime soon, all right? But you know what? With the way this team is banged up, they're going to have to win ugly. And I give the guys credit, man. They left it all on the field. They fought. They competed. And they believe, and I think the staff believes in these guys. I'm looking at the stats. UCF 359 yards, ECU 349. UCF 165 yards rushing, ECU 141. But again, you look at the yards per play, UCF 5.4, ECU 4.9. The average yards per rush, UCF 5.3. I thought that was very effective. ECU 3.6. So, and UCF had the ball for 27 minutes, and they did a nice job, I thought. I think they did a very nice job, and good for them. It's a good win. The defense showed up, and I've been a believer of Travis Williams. I don't believe this team defensively is very talented. I think there's a transitional period there, but these guys played hard. You mentioned the Bethune. I agree. He was tremendous. They played as well as they could, and they did that's the recipe. We saw the recipe. This team is going to win some games the rest of the year and get to a bowl game. This is the recipe. Until Mikey King grows into it. He's a kid. He's just 2 starts in. You can't expect him to carry the offense. Not right now. Not what I'm seeing.
Not to mention that Isaiah Bowser and Jalen Robinson are still out as well. So there are 2 valuable toys for Mikey Keene to play with. And so hopefully we'll see them back. But, I think what we're seeing with this offense is just a symptom from the fact that we have 3 of the offense's biggest playmakers out of action right now, especially with one of their replacements being a true freshman. I mean, that interception that Mikey Keene threw was exactly the kind of mistake that a true freshman would make. Even Dylan Gabriel made mistakes like that in his freshman season. So, it's you hate to see it, you really do, but you have to temper your expectations because we're right back at the true freshman again. And I know we didn't want to be there because we didn't want to be there since Dylan Gabriel was doing such a great job, and we literally just had him as a true freshman 2 seasons ago. But it is what it is. And, at the end, at least the running backs really picked up the pace this time. Johnny Richardson did an excellent
fantastic
job. Career high 104 rushing yards. I've said it many times. This kid is explosive. And this time around, he was able to really take advantage of that. And also, Mark Anthony Richards coming to play, getting that clutch touchdown there to put that won the game. So great job from the rushing attack. And honestly, until Isaiah Bowser gets back, this is the kind of rushing performance that we're going to need out of Richardson and Richardson and Richards before, at least until he gets back.
Yeah, Richardson 16 carries, 104 yards and a touchdown. Richards 6 carries, 58 yards and a touchdown, including the game winner. Richardson 2 catches, 51 yards, so a total 155 yards on 18 touches. I thought that was very nice, and that's going to be the way it is. I mean, you look at the other receivers, Ryan O'Keefe, 10 catches for 73 yards. That's basically a possession receiver. I don't think you're going to get, Johnson, 6 catches, 33 yards. You're not going to get big plays out of your receivers right now with a freshman quarterback. I think this is the recipe, and I like the game plan. I really do. And I think defensively, they held their star running back, Mitchell, to 65 yards on 17 carries. So I think this was a really well-designed game. I think it's huge. I think it was huge to get this win because if you lose this game, Bryson, now it's like, okay, is everything just going to kind of snowball from that point on? Is that a situation at that point where maybe this season just goes south? Now you have some belief. You have you get a win. You feel good about yourself. You put those last 2 games behind you and you try to get better and improve. And, you got nothing to lose against Cincinnati. You're going to be a huge underdog there. But more importantly, you just want to see growth from this roster, especially the young guys. And I think we saw some growth here for the most part, especially on the defensive side here tonight.
Oh yes, I agree. Josh Seliskar has always been someone I've he had a breakout performance in his freshman season that I remember, and he's once again did a great job tonight. I have the stats right here. He got 5 tackles, 4 on his own. He got a sack out of there. I mean, he's definitely been a defensive lineman that's been a standout defensive lineman. Like, I know we talk about Big Cat Brian all the time, but Seliskar has definitely, I would say, has quietly also been having a really good season as well. Now that we have Tatum Bethune back, obviously that's a great boon. Unfortunately, I saw one Kalia Davis went down. Did he come back in the game? I don't remember him.
I don't recall either. But.
Yeah, so hopefully he's okay, because this defense does not need to have another defensive lineman injured again. We are injured again. We already had a Barber out. So hopefully, so the good news is that I think that the biggest problems, there are 4 basic problems that each unit has, and then one that kind of applies to everybody. The offense, it's injured. It's just banged up. We need to get used to this new offense and adjust. It's not going to be the same way it was under Dylan Gabriel, and we're going to have some games where the rushing attack might not work because we don't have Isaiah Bowser. And then, of course, Keene doesn't have Jalen Robinson either, so that's less receivers for him to work with. So that's something we're going to have to get used to. It's something that will probably go up and down. So if we end up having another offensive performance like we saw last week against Navy, it's just a symptom of having a true freshman at quarterback and having a running back that's week to week. That's the offense. On the defense, the secondary is really bad, which means that we're probably going to have a lot of quarterbacks throwing the ball all over us, which means that the linebackers and defensive linemen are really going to have to get their pass rush on. That's what they did tonight to take it to try to neutralize the ECU passing attack, and it worked out pretty well. Obviously, ECU still passed the ball a lot, but I think that they really came up in clutch moments to do that. They had some goal line stands where they got Allers. They had Allers, 3 and outs where they got Allers in the backfield. So that works out really well. But unfortunately, there will be times where our secondary will be taken advantage of. So that's the big thing on defense. On special teams, you got to avoid those miscues. We had a roughing the kicker penalty that just absolutely killed momentum. I thought we could have had the ball back, and unless we had that turnover, ECU could have easily scored right before the half, and that wouldn't be very good now, would it? So better than last week, but definitely need to work on those special team issues. And speaking of penalties, the penalties in this game. Oh my gosh, we had 8 penalties for 80 yards. I mean, sure, ECU had 4 penalties, but those were for 20 yards. And to get for 8 penalties with 80 yards, not only did we get a bunch of penalties, but we got a bunch of costly penalties. And if we lost this game, I easily would have been pointing at that penalty stat, because this team really shot itself in the foot with that. And that's something that I think Malzahn really needs to rein in going forward. I mean, this is the first time we brought it up. So maybe this might be an isolated incident, but if this is something that maybe we just haven't seen yet because of the other issues we've been looking at with this team, then Malzahn really needs to try to rein that in during practice. So it's not a perfect team. We've said it. It's a development year. But you know what? I kind of sometimes I like development years a little bit, because I really love being able to pick apart what this team is doing and and maybe even seeing that improvement right before our eyes. And we saw that at least with the defense.
Agreed. And again, I got to give credit to the staff. I really like the fact they didn't panic down 6 and on 4th down. They went with Lobarski. They gave the kicker confidence there. He hits the field goal to cut it to 3. You know, Bryson, people were ready to criticize Gus on that. You know it, because that's what they do on social media. That's what we like to do, is like to criticize and say, hey, what are you doing? But again, in this type of game, the way your defense was playing, I thought that was the right call. And again, you have a freshman quarterback. He kicks the field goal. I thought that was really well done. I think this was one of the better quarters and that I've seen a UCF head coach have in a while. To me, I really was impressed because a lot of coaches there would panic. They would go for it. They would try to he kicks the field goal, they make it. Obviously, give the kid credit for making the kick. A lot of people have been hard on the kid. He makes the kick. They go kick off. The defense makes the stop. And then they get the ball and they drive down and they score. That's a huge confidence booster for this group. I think it tells you, Bryson, that's a great message that Gus is telling his players, I believe in you. And I think the players responded to that.
Oh yes, I actually you spoke about confidence. We're getting tweets from our colleague Andrew Glukov, who's at the post game press conference right now. I'm looking at his Twitter feed as he's posting some news from that. So I'm gonna run through a couple of those. So Malzahn says this game will give his teammates more confidence in Mikey Keene. So there'll be a confidence builder. So from what I'm seeing, this will be a confidence builder for Mikey Keene's teammates in him as a quarterback. Malzahn also said Keene is young and still learning. Expect growing pains. We've been saying that. Malzahn says, but Tatum Bethune and Bryson Armstrong filled the running lanes and held the running backs in check. That's the kind of thing that we're definitely going to need to see for the defense this season. Malzahn says Johnny Richardson's screen was the play of the game. And he also said Sam Jackson played a big role getting Mikey Keene ready for the final drive. So yeah, so awesome. Thank you for Sam Jackson for being the mentor for that. And speaking of Sam Jackson, what do you think about the offensive line today? I know they had that one moment where they didn't move after they thought the ECU defender jumped off sides. What was your thoughts on that today?
No, I think they were fine. I mean, get Leighton Lee in back. And, I think, again, when you have a young quarterback, man, there's a lot of pressure on the line because defenses are going to be a lot more aggressive. They're going to give you different looks. So there's a lot of pressure on the line. I thought they were fine for the most part. Right now we're posting what Drew said there. You mentioned there what Gus said about having, this will give his teammates more confidence in Mikey Keene. I agree with that. I think you got to earn that trust. And you only get that with reps and experience and good results and positive results. And I think that was all big positive. So, no, I think they were positive, man. This is a group that is not – they're going to leave it all on the field. The one thing I will say, you don't have to worry about this team, not mailing it in on the field. This team is going to play hard from the first whistle to the last whistle. I think that's something that Gus has instilled in this culture. And I think this team will play hard. The reality is, and I don't, people don't like to hear it, but this team has bad luck this year. They have a lot of injuries, and luck plays a lot in sports. In 2017, this team got a lot of luck by not having injuries. This year, they don't have that luck. And so they've gotten some bad breaks. I mean, this team would be totally different. I think we've seen the value of Dylan Gabriel and how good he was and what a difference maker he is. And I don't care who you are as a coach. You're going to struggle when you have this many injuries. Gus has said this is the most injuries he can ever remember having on a team. So you're not that talented as a result. They're young. They're not as super talented. So they're going to have to play at a high level to give themselves a chance to win games. And that's what they did today, especially on the defensive front. I don't think this is a very talented defense, but they played to their abilities. They played sound, and they got to win for this team. They won this game and helped. They're going to have to help the offense. There's going to have to be complementary football for this team to win games and for this team to get to bowl games. This is the recipe. You're not going to win 42-40 games right now with the way this roster is instilled. You make a great point earlier. I think this offense will get better if they can get Bowser back. We don't know, and I know some people we're already asking. Jim John is asking the question, are we going to get anybody back for Cincinnati? Who knows? And you know what? We're probably not going to find out until literally an hour before kickoff. Now, if you watched Our Time, the series on ESPN Plus, Bowser mentioned that he would be back, and it sounded like a couple of weeks. What does that mean? I don't know. We're not going to – I would be surprised if we find out anything official until an hour before kickoff. But if they can get Bowser back, and then you have Richardson, and I think this team could be a really strong running game, have a strong running game, and carry this offense, and more specifically, help Mikey Keene and help him navigate as he goes through his growing pains and learns on the fly.
Yes, exactly. That said, and with that said, Mikey Keene isn't without talent. He's not Dylan Gabriel by any means, but he's certainly capable of great things. I heard the ESPN Plus commentator complimenting a throw he had late in the third quarter to the sideline to Amari Johnson, which that was a solid throw. So it's not that Mikey Keene doesn't have talent. It's just that he's just going to be very prone to the mistakes that true freshmen make sometimes. So we're going to see that throughout the course. We're going to see these growing pains, and we're just going to have to, take it as they come. There's more news coming out of the post-game presser from Glukov, and Tatum Bethune was what came out to talk to the press. He said he feels the confidence was always there in the defense. Today didn't change that. And it seems that Eric Gilliard was brought up. He announced that he would be redshirting this season and then going to the transfer portal to attend graduate school elsewhere. And he says he loves Eric Gilliard and is rooting for him with his future. I think on the topic of Eric Gilliard, actually, I think the defensive performance that we saw today came at a really good time because with Eric Gilliard announcing his redshirting and eventual departure from UCF. I mean, I think some people were really worried that a defense that was already showing some problems was going to get worse because Gilliard was certainly a contributor to that defense. But, Bethune is back. And with the defensive performance that we've seen today, I feel a lot more, I guess, comforted about this defense than I probably was even earlier this week.
Well, and I feel good about the team. I think we, as media people and fans, we got to stop overreacting every time a guy enters the transfer portal. That is going to be now part of college athletics today. Just because a kid goes to the transfer portal doesn't mean there's something wrong with the program or the coaching staff or the player. Things are different now. The days of guys staying to be backups for years are over. That's why UCF has a young freshman quarterback right now playing quarterback because guys aren't going to stick around if you're not starting or you're not getting a lot of playing time and things like that. So I don't get caught up in the who's entering the portal and stuff like that. I know people are still getting accustomed to that, especially during the season. It's a little odd, but I think this is just the norm now of college athletics. So I didn't really bat an eye on that one. But look, I think those guys get along, and I think you heard that from what Bethune had to say.
Speaking of which, what do you think about Daniel Lobarski? Because this is the most that we've seen of Lobarski all season. So
they needed him. And that's the thing I like. They needed him. And Bryson, we've had all this conversation. Do the staff believe in Lobarski? Do they believe in the kicking game? It's that their ups and downs, but it came through big tonight. Again, I thought that was a huge moment. He trusted him down 16-10 to kick the field goal with 5 minutes to go. Bryson, you know it as I know it.
Long too.
Huh?
A career long, from what I understand.
Right. I think it was 30. Oh, yeah, it was close to it. Yeah. And my thing is, social media was ready to jump pound on that. How can they do that? That's a mistake. He gave that kid. I bet that's a huge confidence booster. If I'm a kicker in that situation, that's a huge confidence booster. I thought that was huge. I thought it played very well because of Mikey Keene. Again, if you got Dylan Gabriel, you're probably going to be more aggressive offensively. You're probably going to go for it more than fourth downs. But with a kid like Mikey Keene, you can't do that. And I think you saw that in this game particular, the way it played out. Now, if this game was like a 38-35 game, I don't think, if it's a 38-31 game, I think he kicks, he's not going to just settle for a field goal. He might not feel as confident on his defense. But in this particular game, the defense was playing well. So he trusted his kicker and he trusted his defense. And I think Gus deserves a big plus for winning this football game. I think he did a great job micromanaging this game. I don't believe there is a UCF coach that's ever been on the sidelines that would have won with this roster tonight. Yeah, other than Gus. I don't believe Josh Heupel wins this game because he would not have adapted. Maybe Scott. Could Scott have done it? He wasn't here long enough. We'll never know. I don't think George O'Leary would have won this game with this roster the way it's banged up. I think Gus found a way to win this game. And his staff. Yes.
And honestly, I think one thing that we mentioned our time earlier in the game. I think one thing that our time I'm really glad that we're getting our time this season. I think out of any season, this is the best season we could have had our time for, because getting that behind the scenes look into the program, I think, I really puts front and center who these coaches are. And I mean, seeing the way that Malzahn and Williams and all them interact with the team and how they talk, and it's like it really inspires confidence in them and shows that they are capable coaches. I think the problem is
absolutely
it's a transitional year, and we were given a crappy hand. Like the Malzahn that I saw in the Our Time episode. I haven't seen the latest one yet, so no spoilers there. But I have seen the other ones. But the way that the Gus Malzahn and the Travis Williams that I saw in those episodes, I can definitely see go winning this game the way that they have. And the problem has just been that the recruits with Josh Heupel brought in haven't paid off. I remember seeing a tweet somewhere that like 14 of 20.
That was Luke Saris, our buddy, our fellow colleague Luke Saris.
Yes, so Josh Heupel's recruits just haven't really been panning out, especially in the secondary. So if I honestly I tweeted that I mentioned this when I was talking with everyone with my Banneret colleagues that I think that Malzahn and Williams will probably be either really honing in on the secondary going forward and into the offseason if they have to. But also, if things aren't working, that they will fix that problem through the transfer portal or bringing in better recruits to do that. Because I think that one position group that I think declined under Heupel was the secondary.
There's the tweet from Luke Saris you're referring to this earlier this week. The UCF 14 out of the 25 recruits in the 2018 class were either dismissed or transferred from the program. 2018 was Heupel's first class at UCF. I will defend Josh on this regard. A lot of first-year head coaches that year, Scott Frost, Willie Taggart, so forth, their recruiting classes were terrible. A lot of coaches had bad classes, and some people believe the theory is out there, if you recall, that was the first time that the deadline for the signing period, that you could sign a class in December. It used to be, it had to be February is the deadline. That was the first year that you could sign your class in December. And I think back then, a lot of people were like, well, maybe some guys will sign in December, but it's still going to be February. No, it turns out like everybody signed in December, basically. And I think the first year head coaches, because remember, when you're a first year coach, when you're taking over a program, you're usually getting hired in December. Remember, so I think a lot of people believe that threw off those classes for those first-year head coaches. That's the theory. I think there's some truth. So I will defend Josh on that. But point taken, because that class was not so good, now you're paying the price this year when you don't have the depth and you have a lot of youth and you lose a lot of guys that start declaring early for the NFL, which is eventually catches up with you. And I think it's caught up with this roster. So I think those are valid points.
All right. I want to take a quick second because Jim John did have the question: are we getting anybody back for Cincinnati? Because speaking of Cincinnati, I want to get the chance to just go around and look at the AAC this week.
I'd rather not think about Cincinnati. I'd rather not move on to Cincinnati. That's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty.
Well, Cincinnati did beat Temple 52-3. That's gonna. It's gonna. I would definitely preempt my expectations with that. I'm hoping for the best. I would love to see.
I might let you host with Drew next week. I might give you an opportunity to host your first night shift there. We'll see. One game that I think was certainly very interesting to look at tonight. I was having the game on while I was watching the first part of the UCF game. Was SMU and Navy, because you said last week that Navy's back to being, or Andrew I think said that Navy's back to being Navy again. Jeff said that. You're like the ESPN Plus shows. You're confusing guys. If you watch the episode,
I'm sorry. I know you said it, but
this is hilarious. It's great. Like Drew, for those that don't know, we made cameos on ESPN on the Art Time, and let's just say my voice sounded differently. Apparently, that's all I'm saying. My voice sounded differently. Anyway, move on.
But my point is that I think that two games this week have really, I think it maybe improved the outlook on UCF as a team. For example, Navy just played at number 24 SMU. SMU won that game 31-24, but only because of a fourth quarter touchdown. So Navy's stock is looking like it's on the way up right now. So I mentioned, like Jeff said, Navy's back to being Navy, and this definitely proves it. It's not just we did have a bad game, but Navy's.
But SMU found a way to win. We'll see. I mean, valid point though.
And then also, Boise State marched into Provo and beat BYU.
They were shorthanded a little bit too. So
how about that?
Yeah, good wins. Do you have other American Conference scores? I've been out of the loop a little bit.
No, it's a pretty
light week.
Short light week. Houston.
I know Tulane. Memphis is playing. Yeah, Houston beat Tulane, and then Memphis is playing Tulsa. Right? I think they just started.
That's happening right now. Right, yeah. It's 6 minutes left in the second quarter, and they're tied at 7. So okay. Things are looking good there.
Well, interesting thing to monitor, by the way, as we record this. So Cincinnati UCF next week, noon on ABC. The Cincinnati beat writer was speculating that College Game Day could be there, that the president says they're an option, which I've been told that is correct. However, will it happen? I was told a week ago that it was a strong possibility, and then UCF kind of lost that second game. If there's still a chance they go there because Cincinnati would be the story, they may also decide to wait on that and try to maybe gamble that Cincinnati SMU later in the year would be a bigger game. Maybe they go FCS route. That is something to monitor either late tonight or Sunday, whether College Game Day will be in Cincinnati for the first time ever. They've never been to Cincinnati for game day. And I know that game day likes to go to places for the first time. We could have a reversal of what we had in 2018 when they came down to UCF for the Cincinnati game, for that primetime game. The difference there was Cincinnati only had 2 losses, but really game day came because the story was UCF. And there was ramifications in the conference division race that year. But we could have a replay of this if College Game Day decides to go to Cincinnati. And I know that was strongly considered when I spoke to people at Bristol about a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if UCF's record here changes that. I know somebody had been speculating there was a big Division II game, like ranked game that that people should consider. It's a very not a good slate of games next weekend because, well, college football has a bad product and there's going to be a lot of bad games. But anyway, so as a result, I think from an FBS standpoint, Cincinnati could be the game that they end up going to because Cincinnati's a big story nationally. So we'll see if that is what happens. So I would monitor that throughout social media on that. Do you want game day to go to Cincinnati, Bryce?
I want to, but I am highly doubting it for a couple of reasons. I am looking at the slate of games scheduled for the next week, and a couple of games are sticking out to me. One, Kentucky and Georgia is looking like a surprisingly solid matchup. Kentucky is having one of its best years in a while, and I think the game.
Are they beating LSU? Are they beating LSU right now? I believe they were blowing them out last time.
Yeah,
Amy, let me check out. Amy, I think says it. I think speaks
28-7, 28-7 at 13 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So yes.
So you're right. So that's a valid point you bring up. Is Kentucky and Georgia would both be undefeated, so that would make sense. The counter argument to that is they were just in Georgia 2 weeks ago for the Arkansas game. So would they want to come back to Georgia for the Kentucky game? We'll see. But I mean, that I'm sure they're considering that.
Also, the other one is heading to Austin, Texas for Oklahoma State, Texas.
Nah, I don't see them doing that.
Not even coming off the win. All right.
No, I don't think so. In fact, I believe Fox will have that game. And I believe ABC is going to have Oklahoma TCU because I was actually on a live StreamYard with a buddy of mine who's my former producer, is an Oklahoma fan, and we were talking about that. So, so far the reaction is a lot of UCF people do not want game day there. I think they know what's coming, which is a big Cincinnati infomercial. So I understand that.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, so yeah, I think beyond that, I would agree with you. I mean, Auburn and Arkansas is ranked, but I don't see that happening. And then everything else is not really a ranked, is not really a matchup that is deserving of game day. So I mean, Cincinnati and UCF is obviously a really good option, but
I agree with you on Georgia, Kentucky. Would they want to go back to Athens for a second week in 3 weeks? They tried not to do that. We'll see.
I don't know. I mean, it's like if the matchup's good enough, and that's really that. I think that's really the big thing. I think the difference is going to be if they go to Cincinnati, they're going to do that because it's the first time in Cincinnati, and the story of Cincinnati making a run probably for the college football playoff. They're ranked number 5, and they're ranked number 5, and and
I think if they do that, does Kurt Herbstreit stay and do the game with Fowler, and they do this UCF Cincinnati game, which they did in 2018, or will they end up doing a game, later that night, and then they travel? I don't know. If I were them, I would gamble and wait to see if Cincinnati and SMU, because Cincinnati will host SMU later in the year. I already checked that weekend. You have I think Ohio State, Michigan State's the only other marquee game that day. I would wait if I was them for that game over this game, but they may not want to wait. So I think what's going to happen is, I would not surprise me if they go FCS next week. They may go FCS. We'll see.
Well, the thing about gambling, though, for the SMU game is because as we've seen, SMU just barely escaped Navy. And so that now the question is SMU doesn't really look as invincible as they did before.
Right.
And so does gambling. And so how much are you willing to bet that SMU is going to look like a really good opponent going into Cincinnati when they just had the game that they had?
No, look, it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with there. By the way, I think either way, regardless, I think we're going to get a good crew for that broadcast. I think Sean McDonough and Blackledge could be in play for that. Either way, I think we're going to have a strong broadcast crew. And I only mention that because I saw social media. A lot of people were not happy with the production from this broadcast on ESPN Plus. So,
well, now another thing.
Nothing else. I'm not going to add any to that.
No, yeah. Another thing I wanted to address is that a lot of people were talking about the line that UCF had against ECU this week, and that it was way overestimating things. And sure enough, UCF was. I believe if that was the spread we're talking about, UCF did not beat it. Only won by 4 points. I believe the line was like 11 or something.
10.5, 11. Yeah, entertainment purposes, of course.
Right. So my question is, after this game, do you think that maybe we might see the UCF's line shrink going forward? Because I know that's something that the communities would talked about leading up to this game.
Maybe. We'll see. I think we're going to be a big underdog going into Cincinnati. I would be surprised if Cincinnati wasn't, double-digit favorite going into that game.
All right.
So I do think those things the days of us being a big favorite will probably be done unless Dylan Gabriel comes back, or we do have UConn on the schedule. So.
We have that we have, and then or of course Bowser, or of course the return of Bowser could easily tip the balance as well.
Mr. Hampton 913 chiming in. They can wait to go to Cincinnati later in the year if they're still in the playoff race. I tend to agree with that philosophy. We'll see if that's what they do. We'll see if that's what they do.
Let's go. I haven't done this yet, and I want to make sure we do this at some point. I want to take a look at social media real quick and just take a look at take a pulse of what some of the things that Night Nation's talking about. By the way, I am now going to try and do this new thing where after every game, I'm going to send out a tweet to Night Nation.
Go for it.
To basically reply to the tweet with a GIF of either your mood or a GIF about your opinion on the team's performance in the game, and we can go over a couple of them to kind of get a pulse on what the attitude or what the feelings of Night Nation are going into this game. I think might be a little bit of a humorous way to do it as well. So what I'm seeing right now is there are two replies to it that I'm seeing right now. Hopefully, now that I'm promoting it on here, we'll be able to do a little more going forward. We have one from Corey Esquinza, PhD, who has a cat that's heavy breathing. We have and then we have one from Marshall Johnson with a Schitt's Creek GIF that says, "Of course, I never doubted you." So it seems to me that everyone that it's a combination of just stress with some relief in there we could have lost opportunities for us to lose that game.
No, I agree. Wow, I posted what UCF just posted. Like, look at those stats there, Bryson. Really solid. 6 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception, and then the 104 yards by Richardson. But those are all defensive stats. I thought that's a very telling stat and well deserved for that defense to win. They do.
We also have one question, right? Because you put out the to send questions for the night shift towards me, and so we did get one. So we did get one from Corey Eskenazi, PhD. This game ended the streak of a passing and rushing touchdown. How many games in a row was that? I think that's kind of irrelevant in a way because rushing touchdowns, we got the one with Johnny Richardson, we got one with Anthony Richards. As far as a passing touchdown, like getting both a passing and a rushing touchdown in the same game, I mean, with Mikey Keene, I think that it's not something we want to, expect every single time. It'd be great to get one, and I think that Mikey Keene does have the talent to do it, but he's a true freshman, and he's going to make some mistakes, and so I don't think we're going to want to expect that every.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm sure that'll be on the notes. Yeah, but I don't know. I'm sure I would expect that probably be on Drew's knee-jerk reactions when he writes that on blackandgoldbanneret.com. So look for that. That'll be up probably by Sunday. He's driving back from the game. So I would expect that to be brought up. And if not by then, we'll try to remember and bring it up on the podcast. The more important stat is UCF won the game there. All right, a couple things here real quick I want to mention. Hall of Fame weekend, UCF wins. They honored the Hall of Famers at the game at the end of the first quarter. Blake Bortles, Josh Sitton, Jermaine Taylor, Natalie Land, Afia Charles. They were inducted into the Hall of Fame Friday night. If you go to our YouTube page, you see all of the videos that Bryson put up. And obviously, we posted our articles on all of them are up on blackandgoldbanneret.com. Bryson, you were there at media availability prior to the Hall of Fame starting, the show starting. I know UCF has posted the speeches and highlights of the ceremony, but I know you weren't there, but you were there for media availability. What was it like to be at media availability there with those 5 Hall of Famers?
It was an honor to be able to do that. If you guys watched our Hall of Fame night shift that me and Eric did, I mentioned a story where I met Josh Sitton at a game in 2013, and Sitton actually mentioned that game in his media availability because that was the last time he was on campus, was when he was at that game. So it was certainly great to see that. It was great. It was an honor to talk to Blake Bortles, especially since he's definitely on. We mentioned he's on the kind of the Mount Rushmore of UCF quarterbacks. And then, of course, Afia Charles. I mean, she's an Olympian, Hawaii Olympian.
By the way, breaking news: Andrew said it was 53.
53 what?
53 games.
Oh, 53 games since the last one. That one. Okay.
Told you Drew would come through. He didn't even want to save it for his article. He just go ahead and just I know that's the UCF staff. They were on top of that. But anyway, as you were.
All right, yeah. So yeah, and then of course Natalie Land and Jermaine Taylor were. It was a great to talk with them. I mean, I didn't really experience their achievements here at UCF in person, but we have plenty of questions for them. It was great, and it was great for them to be inducted into the Hall of Fame alongside the other legends of the game. Honestly, my only complaint that I would give is that it was loud in there. I think that because what they did is they set up basically a screen. You see the UCF backdrop that's in the video just in the lobby of the Celeste Hotel, like where you drive up and you just go in there. They just set it up right there. And I think that was a little bit annoying for at least me, because if you listen to the Jermaine Taylor video, it's a little hard to hear him because there's background noise of people talking all around. So, I mean, if I were, setting up media availability, I would have put it in had a room, at least a small room to put the media availability in, so that way the background noise would be less limited. But other than that, it was really well. It was done very efficiently, so that worked out very well. And it was great to be there. Jason Beatty was there. It was great to see him. Had one of my fellow journalism students, Leo Torres, there. It was great to see him. West 2 and Channel 6 were there. And it was a solid media availability. Honestly, again, the only complaint I can have is the background noise. That's really about it.
Well, it is what it is, but that's a great class, and hopefully they do this every year. Hopefully we can build it up bigger. Hopefully we can promote it bigger, and just become a bigger thing. That was cool to see. And I was glad to see the crowd give them a big, big ovation there. So props to them. Check out our YouTube page. We have a lot of content on the Hall of Fames, their interviews, the press conferences before the Hall of Fame ceremony. We have articles. I have my interviews with Natalie Land and a few Charles as well. So a lot of good stuff on blackandgoldbanneret.com as well as on our YouTube page, which you should be subscribing to right now and liking as well on that. Plus, we'll have post-game reactions from coaches. Bryson's been all over the campus this week. He was at women's soccer against South Florida. He was at volleyball last night against Houston.
Right after the Hall of Fame media availability, mind you. Right from the Swiss Hotel to the venue to watch that game. So that was a fun night. I'll tell you that. It was sad that volleyball did lose 3 sets to 2 to Houston, which we'll address on the Black and Gold next episode of the Black and Gold Banneret
and podcast. On your nightcap article there,
and in nightcap
every weekly.
Mm-hmm. That and on nightcap as well, yes. And then I know you were going to say this, but I'm also going to be at the men's soccer game tomorrow night, where we're going to be facing, I believe, number 6 in the country ranked
Tulsa,
which is definitely a game that I definitely wanted to attend since it's a kind of a make or break game in the sense that they're coming off of that 3-0 stunner against Memphis. You got to not only do you have to rebound from that, but you have to do so against a top 10 ranked team in the country. So this is certainly a key moment for Scott Calabrese's guys.
Lots going on there. But at least everybody can exhale. UCF gets back on the win column, winning 20-16 in football tonight to improve to 3-2. We'll have more coverage on this throughout the week. Angel will have his knee-jerk reactions on the site. We'll have a podcast where I'm sure get ready for the Cincinnati game next week. That'll be a big one at noon. Follow me at Eric Lopezillo. I will have the latest when game day announces what they're going to do and more good stuff. And we'll have night shift every week following the game. Last thoughts, Bryson. We're going to wrap it up here a little early tonight because we both have had long weeks, and
my week's still not done.
Yeah, yours ain't done. I mean, I got to watch the Dolphins get trounced by the Bucs on Sunday, so I definitely. And there's baseball playoffs going on. Alabama's losing, so I want to check that out. Give me your thoughts, final thoughts here on this UCF. Let's put a bow on this UCF win over ECU.
All right. I said don't panic after the Louisville game. I said, okay, there may be a little panicking after a little bit after the Navy game, but I think I did kind of give the caveat that Navy isn't the kind of team that you're going to see on a regular basis because they have such a different style of offense. This game was the more mainstream style of offense that you're going to see in the American Athletic Conference and the rest of college football going forward. And the good news is that the UCF defense came to play and they did a great job tonight. I think the biggest thing that we want to take away from this game, at least from a positive standpoint, is that the defense is getting better. The secondary, maybe not, but the defensive linemen and the linebackers have been getting better. They're tackling better. We got Tatum Bethune back, so that certainly is a source of positivity on that front. And they're improving their pass rush as well, which should be able to alleviate the problems that the secondary's issues bring to the table. So that's good to hear. Daniel Lobarski. I mean, he got some playing time tonight, and it looks like that he's definitely improved. He hasn't been, kept off the field because he's been a bad kicker. It's just the play calling that Gus Malzahn has made, and he seems to have confidence in him. And if he has confidence in him, then heck, I have confidence in him too. So Daniel Lobarski doing better. And then as far as just any criticism you might have, it's just that look. It's an injured team. Mikey Keene is a true freshman. He's going to make some mistakes. And with Isaiah Bowser and Jalen Robinson, 2 big playmakers on this offense gone, it's going to be an adjustment period for this offense in order to work through some things. And sometimes with Isaiah Bowser and him being the bruiser back that he is, just you can't replace a guy like that with the guys that we have on the roster right now. So until we get Bowser back, we could have an up and down performance from the rushing game. Johnny Richardson's explosiveness certainly will help, like it did tonight, but we can't count on that we can't count on that every single time. And yeah, I mean the offense is. The offense is still a work in progress, and it's something that we're going to have to just be patient with. And I'm willing to see this through because there is some talent with Mikey Keene. We've already seen a bunch of talent from Johnny Richardson. So we'll see that. And Mark Anthony Richards had a clutch performance as well. And then beyond that, keep the penalties to the minimum. And then avoid those special teams miscues. It was better than last week, but we still had them. So we're far from perfect, but you know what? Like I said, it's really fun to really kind of dissect all this and just to kind of see what this team can do and to be able to really watch that improvement before our eyes. And I could not be any more prouder of the defensive linemen and the linebackers. I was very excited to see that.
And I was pleased with the staff, and I hope people like to go off on coaches, and I understand they get scrutinized and they get paid and all that, but give them their just due. I thought that was a really good game plan. I thought that was good defensively, and I thought they did a heck of a job in that fourth quarter, managing that quarter, not panicking, and giving their team the best chance to win. And look, you're never going to completely agree with a coach's decision every time, but I trust this staff. I think this staff's the right staff. Let's see what happens when they get their players in. But in the meantime, this is the right staff to lead these young guys right now that's banged up. And I thought it's a good win, man. It's a good win, and props to everybody. They deserve it.
I think they've more than earned some patience from the fan base, from the performance that we saw tonight, and of course on Our Time, which if you have ESPN Plus, I encourage everybody to watch Our Time if they are able to.
Especially the last episode, Black and Gold Banneret cameos. I never sounded better. My voice was different, but it sounded good.
Yeah, for sure. I think that to quote Vision, we are in uncharted waters, and so we're just going to have to kind of ride the wave and just see where this goes, for better or for worse.
And they're going to play hard. Let's support the guys. They're underhanded. They're going to play hard. So we'll see what happens. Cincinnati's going to be a tough one next week, but you never know. Weirder things happen. We'll see. They'll play it, and we'll hope for the best on that. But hey, we're going to let you all.
And we'll be back to break it all down next week.
Bryson will. We'll see if I am. Well, we'll figure all that out. But in the meantime, hey, look, enjoy the game. Enjoy the win. Don't take it for granted. Enjoy the win. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Keep it here on Black and Gold Banneret. Yeah. Keep it on blackandgoldbanneret.com for all the latest on UCF athletics. Certainly hope you enjoy that, the content that's coming out. Drew's going to be, I don't know when that'll be posted late night, I have a feeling. But it will deserve. And he was at the game. He'll write about it. Follow us at UCF_Banneret. Make sure you like us on YouTube as well as, and subscribe to get all the latest news. Anytime a video pops up, we put up a show like this, you will get notifications. So that's why it's very important you subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Make sure you like us as well. That helps. And follow us, of course, on our site, blackandgoldbanneret.com, and, of course, on Twitter and Facebook and all of social media. So for Bryson Turner, I'm Eric Lopez. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Night Shift here on the Black and Gold Banneret. Good night.